So
Very
if
good.
you please all agree, then we can continue. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Wilde Gans, I would like to warmly welcome you to this webinar on vegetable gardens. And food security forms the basis for sustainable poverty reduction. Hunger prevents people and entire communities to become the agents of change they would like to be. Accordingly, we believe that the issue of poverty cannot be solved without tackling food security. In the context of climate change and COVID-19, Wilde Gansen increasingly receives project applications from partner organizations who would like to contribute to food security for and through local communities. Accordingly, we would like to gain more insight in community-based development related to food security and agriculture. Therefore, we are very delighted today to have two experts in the field of food security amongst us. Today, hopefully Stephen Kamje from Bofta, Uganda, and Jeroen van den Berg from the Nepal Trust will share their experiences and provide you more insight on sustainable farming methods and local ownership. My name is Imke Straat and I'm the Policy Officer on Agriculture and Food Security at the Wilde Gansen Foundation, and today I will be your host together with my colleagues Frederik Bosveld and Sylvia Ortega. Before I will give the floor to our first speaker of today, Jeroen van den Berg, I would like to provide you with some Zoom tips, but for sure I think everybody is over time has become more familiar. But it would be good if you mute your microphone while you're not talking. And please be aware that this meeting is being recorded. Of course, it's very nice if you can turn on your camera, as most of you have already done. And yeah, if the connection is not that good, you can try to turn off your camera, then the connection will improve. And please feel free to use the chat. It's underneath, it's below in your screen, to ask questions, which will be answered after the presentations. So then I think now it's time to introduce our first speaker of today. Jeroen van den Berg from the Nepal Trust will share his experiences on multi-stakeholder cooperation in the field of agriculture. And accordingly, he will provide us with more insights on the challenge and opportunities related to local ownership. So please, Jeroen, the floor is yours. And I'm really looking forward to hear more from your side, from your perspective.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is, as mentioned, Jeroen van den Berg. I'm the country director of the Nepal Trust organization, which has been working for the last 30 years, more or less, in Nepal. And the following slide shows you the sectors that we have been involved in. Can we go to the next slide? Yep. So we have a wide range of activities that we have been involved with over the past several decades. But today, obviously, I'm going to explain a little bit more about agriculture and food security. And the reason, if we go to the next slide, well, here you see the location of Nepal. It's embedded between China and India. And the project area that I'm going to talk about is called Sindhu Palchok District. And the reason for this is that in 2015, as you may have been aware of, Nepal was very hard hit by a big earthquake. And the earthquake actually devastated several parts of the country. What you see on the slide are actually some pictures I took a few days after the earthquake in Kathmandu, which is the capital city. And as you can imagine, these are all concrete houses, quite strong. But you can imagine that in the villages, in the rural areas, often the houses are constructed from mud, wood, so they're not really earthquake resistant. And the slide shows you actually some of the pictures that we took during our visit in Sindhu Palchok, which was one of the worst affected areas in Nepal after the after the earthquake. So you can see whole villages have been devastated. Everything was totally in ruins. So in order to help the people in first, we did provide some relief efforts through food provision like rice, lentils, oil, and GI sheets. These are tin sheets so people could actually make emergency shelter. But often the case, you cannot just continue giving people relief aid. At one point, after a few months, you try to get the people back on track and then basically assure that they can build up their own livelihoods again. So you don't create a culture of independence. And if we go to the next slide, you can actually see that what we try to do is create local ownership by build back better. So a lot of the people actually in this area, especially in the rural areas of Nepal, are still depending on farming, animal husbandry, and they are self-sustaining in that matter. But at the moment, everything is gone, like your house is gone, the whole villages are basically in ruins. Where to start? So it was very important to also give the local people a sense of pride and ownership to build back their own lives. So in order to do that, we had to start with their basic form of income, which is agriculture based. So in the following slide, you can actually see the activities that we wanted to do in this particular project and the objectives of this project. So one of the main components was how can we improve the income generating activities from the local people so they can actually earn money themselves to actually rebuild their own lives. Coupled with that, obviously, the necessary infrastructure was required as well. Think of irrigation schemes, water supplies, and so on. And also, in the moment, people are basically back to normal. How can they access this, several markets to sell their produce as well? So the main components were income generating activities, infrastructure, and market access. And we try to bring all the actors together for collaboration for that particular matter. Well, we basically now come to the next slide. And on the moment, you realize that people have hardly anything left where to start. So obviously they first need the right tools and equipment to start the farming activities again. So for this, we actually provided them with the necessary tools and equipment, which were provided through local agrofeds. If you take the whole area as such, you can imagine that not only individual households were badly affected, but any sector, so the electricity sector, the health sector, local businesses, everything was destroyed. So you do have to look at the bigger picture. So an agrofed is basically what a pharmacist is for the health sector. These are small scale suppliers that provide the agricultural inputs like tools, pesticides, medicines, and so on. So we actually try to link them into this particular activity so that we can stimulate local businesses as well. At the same time, it is way more easy to supply from a local shop, so you can keep as much of the project fund in this particular area. And this provided the agrofeds with more clients. In this particular project, we supported 140 farming families. And on the moment you make the link through the local suppliers and the farming families, the complaint, if they have a complaint, it's way more easy to go to the agrofed locally themselves and discuss things. But also in the moment, the agrofed will do a great job. He maybe gets more business in the future as well, because the farmers can use him in the upcoming years as well. So once the people actually have the first equipment to start with, obviously they require technical assistance as well. So through our local staff, we provided them with technical guidance, and also we try to link them up through the local farmer groups and the cooperatives. And the cooperatives were quite important because they can provide small scale loans like microcredits to farmers. So on the moment a farmer wants to have a loan to buy more cattle or maybe to rebuild his farm, he can become a member of the local cooperative, which is a registered entity. And in this way, the cooperative can earn some more money and provide bigger loans in future. At the same time, we try to integrate the cooperatives and the farmer groups as well, because they basically represent the official bodies in this particular area. If we go to the next slide, what you see here is basically several farms. Veterinary service and livestock is quite important to the local people as well. And you can imagine that on the moment an earthquake happens and a lot of buildings are collapsing, a lot of animals died as well. And if you take, for instance, a buffalo in Nepal, it may cost up to 800 euro to buy an animal like this. So and if you then take into account that the average salary of a Nepalese is around 1,000 euro a year, you can imagine this is a major investment loss. So we try to link in with the government agricultural office, in which they provided animal doctors. So we visited about 420 farms to provide medicines, inoculations of goat, pigs, sheep, cows, and so on. And at the same time, we educated the people how to treat and care for sick animals and what kind of medication would be useful for that. So in this way, we also try to give more ownership to the local government entities by including them in the project. So it would be way easier for people later on, if something happens with an animal, to go to the office, then they know who to approach, what people are in the government system to answer their questions and to provide help. So the good thing is also that the office of the government also can provide local subsidies as well, like small scale loans and subsidies for cattle. So in this way, on the moment people want to have more cattle, they can go to this particular office and make a request for that. Well, obviously, irrigation is a very important aspect as well, because water is used for many aspects of life. It's not only, to make the crops grow, but also it's drinking water for people themselves, for cattle. So you can imagine that a lot of the original water sources were actually moved or totally destroyed due to the earthquake. Obviously, the earth is moving quite a bit during an earthquake. So underground, a lot of movement takes place as well. So a lot of the existing water supplies in this particular area were not functioning anymore after the earthquake. So we actually had to do quite some work to find out where are the new water sources available and how can we actually channel that particular source to the village. So this is what you see here are several construction pictures of irrigation. And in all the construction projects that we do, we always use local people. So we create local employment by building the local infrastructure themselves. Think of masons, carpenters, and so on. And you can imagine that the difficulty, because some of the water supplies would be maybe 4 or 5 kilometers away. So it's quite a lot of construction work that was required. And for this, we also again made use of the local water user committees. These are official bodies also registered in the district itself, and they represent the local population for the water usage. And in this way, we try to give the ownership to the local water user committee to handle the construction works, the workforce, and the funds in order to construct it as well. Okay. If we go to the next slide, you can see that increased production is something that you eventually try to achieve. So in the moment, you have a starting point in which people barely have anything. So you provide them with the technical know-how, the equipment to do it, and the different linkages in order to produce more vegetables and crops. On the moment, the production can be increased. Obviously, they can sell more, so more income can be generated. And the next slide shows basically the market linkages. Of course, it is very important to increase the production, but if there's no place to sell it, what's the use? And what you see here in this particular slide is that one part of the project was actually market access. And due to the earthquake, a lot of the roads were damaged. You can see the district is mainly hills and mountains. So in the moment a landslide takes place due to an earthquake, some parts of the roads can be heavily damaged, or some roads are totally cut off. So what we did was to work with the road department of the government and several other organizations to link the cut off villages again to the bigger market hubs. Sorry. And what you see here is the road that we dug out with bulldozers, and it was about 6 kilometers in length. So it took quite some joint collaboration between the different stakeholders and the government. But the good thing is that by including the government and giving them the ownership through the road department, they also become then again responsible themselves for the upcoming repairs in future in case landslides or anything happens as well. Another part of market access is electricity. It's not a sector that people immediately link up to market access, but we thought it's quite important. Over the years, we have been working quite a lot in the alternative energy sector. Think of solar energy, energy through microhydro, which are basically small electricity plants through the force of water. And in the past, a lot of the poles, the electricity poles, were made of wood. So during the earthquake, a lot of them were damaged, they were broken, or not functioning anymore. So in order to build back better, we've replaced in a particular municipality all the poles with metal ones that are from the government standard. So they won't easily break in case smaller earthquakes would happen again. And this was done in collaboration with the Nepal Electricity Authority. And that is the official body in Nepal for the electricity. So they actually connected this whole area again to the main power grid. And it allowed a lot of sectors to flourish because of it. Obviously, what you see here are local shops in the evening that due to light, they can open again to sell the vegetables from the farmers. But communication is a very important aspect, especially in a situation of emergency. A lot of aid organizations came in to provide assistance, but on the moment you cannot charge your telephone. Communication is very difficult. So it serves a lot of purposes. Also schools can have electricity, the health posts that are being rebuilt could have electricity again. So it served quite a wider purpose rather than only the agricultural beneficiaries as such. But also electricity can be used for small scale equipment, like what you see in the upper right, small electric mills. So the end products from the agricultural sector can be made more efficiently by using small electricity-driven agricultural tools. So it's a wide range of activities, and in short, I try to capture what we try to do in this project to see, well, what are the local stakeholders or actors in the whole value chain, as you wish, and how can we bring them all together to improve the vegetable production and everything that goes around with it. So if you have any questions in regard to this, I would be very happy to answer them. I know that we were quite pressed for time, so it wasn't possible to go very much into detail about all the specific activities, but I hope that this gave a somewhat clearer picture of how local ownership can be achieved by including both the government as well as the local people, as well as the local registered bodies, both from the private sector as well as from the social sector. And well, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Jeroen, thank you very much for this nice presentation. There's a lot of information in a short time frame, so a big compliment to you. Maybe I will first give the floor to our guests today. So please, dear audience, if there are any questions, you can use the chat or maybe even unmute yourself and ask the question. Please feel free. Who would like to go first?
Or maybe if something was unclear, maybe now is the time to explain a little bit more about that as well.
May I have a question?
Of course, Simon, go ahead, please. Welcome.
Can you use in your area water drop systems? Because we use a lot of water drop systems in Africa, and it helps to save water.
Yeah, it's what we call drop irrigation, and in some areas it would be suitable. What we actually focused on here were community schemes, so basically very simple storage tanks and water supplies, local water taps, and irrigation to the main hubs. In the end, not every farmer, of course, comes from the same economic background. So some that are more well off could have their own drop irrigation system as such. But we try to focus on the basic things as such. At that time, it was a bit technical for us and complex to do so. So we stuck to the traditional water source supplies. But yeah, I'm aware of the concept, and maybe it's something that we can look to in the future as well. Because I know it has been quite successful in other countries as well.
Yeah, because we use it for a group of women or young people. They share an area, and with a pump on solar electricity, they can pump up the water and bring it to the garden. So there are 10, 20 or 30 families that can use that pump and the water drop irrigation. And if I understand it well, in Nepal, mostly it are individuals.
Correct. Yes.
I see. Is your question answered, or Simon? Is it?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Okay. Then I also see that Mr. Arnold Brouwer has also raised his hand. So please go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question about how to work together with the government. Is it easy to work with the government? You need to know a specific person to be able to get in touch with them. Because I'm here in Bolivia, for us it's almost impossible to work together with any level of government, even the local government. Maybe it's because we're in a big city as well, but I was wondering if you have any trouble working together with the government, or it's a very easygoing process working with them.
Well, working with the government, thank you for your question, is never that easy. And just like in many developing countries, you have to deal with a lot of corruption inside the government system as well. And it heavily depends on who you actually meet. Obviously, if you have local connections, it may make it way more easy. So we do have several success stories in which the government was very much willing to work with us. At the same time, there are also cases known, and from my own experience as well, in which they rather don't do anything at all, and they really don't want to get involved. I think, however, because this was a kind of emergency situation and a very unusual situation, because you talked about a natural disaster, a lot of the government bodies locally were affected as well, because on the moment government offices are destroyed through the earthquake as well. A lot of government officials died as well. Everybody basically needed help and support, and mainly funds, in order to achieve something. So in this case, they were quite willing to work with us, especially because it would save on their own budget on the moment we could assist them. But then again, it's quite challenging as well, because also inside the government office, it's who you know and not always what you know. Like you correctly said, I mean, a lot of the people, they're looking for handouts, or they want to be bribed or anything like that. So that's why it is quite important that we actually work with the local communities themselves, like the local leaders, the official groups, because as a foreign entity, you might be misused because they only see you as a fund provider. Whereas if you actually make use of the local bodies who are locally elected as well, they have way more clout than us to actually put pressure on the local governments as well. So in this particular case, it worked out quite well. And yeah, that's why we always also make use of the local staff. So we always have in our projects people from the areas themselves who know a lot of local people as well, who may know people inside the various government offices as well. So yeah, that actually all helps. And like I said, it's sometimes it works very well, but also we cannot force the government to do whatever we like, and sometimes they're totally not interested as well. So these are challenges that we, I think, all face, and how to go around them is basically to give as much as possible ownership to the local people themselves. So then they realize that in the moment they don't take action themselves, they are the ones who are suffering from it. So in this way, you try to assist the local people as well, and the local cooperatives or the electricity offices to actually put pressure on their own government. And yeah, up to now we have been quite successful in it, but it's never a guarantee that it will be always the same in future.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeroen. Jan, I also see that you have raised your hand, but because of time, I would like to suggest that keep your question on top of mind, and we can continue also in the breakout rooms. So I hope that's okay for you. And then I would like to introduce Jeroen. Thank you very much, first of all, of course, for your good answers and nice answers. I see also that our second speaker of the day has arrived, Mr. Stephen Kemya, all the way from Uganda. Warmly welcome. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Are you there?
Much,
Yes.
Yes, please.
How are you?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, dear Frederick, Emka, and other colleagues. My name is Stephen Kamya, Project Coordinator, Kindred Van Uganda, Children of Uganda, but also the Treasurer for the local organization, Bukoma Simbi Organic Tree Farmers Association. Sorry, there was a technical problem, but finally it has been resolved. So I'm happy to join this Zoom meeting.
Thank you very much. Very welcome. Stephen, you will today share your experiences on how to make vegetable gardens actually more sustainable and productive on the long term, whereby you will provide also more insights on integrated farming as a way of farming. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hear your story and your experience. So please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'll share my experience as the on-site project coordinator, Kindred Van Uganda, Children of Uganda, here in Chibinge and Uganda in general. Per our experience, the question says, what makes kitchen gardens more sustainable in short term and long term? That is, I'll share my experience per what we have achieved so far in Chibinge. And the first idea is the system of farming, and that is integrated farming system. In Chibinge, we had a problem. Soils had lost fertility. Well, we were like trying to support agricultural programs, but soils were losing fertility. That helped us to generate an idea of integrated farming where we mobilize community to rear animals as well as growing crops. And it has worked out because we are setting up demonstration centers for animals, and in the end, animals help us in providing waste. They pass out waste. Currently, we are setting up a piggery demonstration center in Chibinge, and we are using coffee husks as bedding material for pigs. They keep mixing with animal waste. We manage it, and at the end of the day, we come up with manure, which we apply back in the garden to re-enrich soils, because the soils were completely losing fertility generally in the whole region. So we thought about an idea of how we can re-enrich soils, and animals pass out and we manage their waste products into manure, take them to the plots, to the main plantation to re-enrich soils, and at the end, it boosts vegetables and other crops, which in the end we feed them onto different animals. So it becomes a cycle, which is a little bit sustainable. That is about the first so it becomes a cycle which is a little bit sustainable because farmers now can have like a complete cycle. They are in position to get fertilizers to re-enrich their soils. In the end, that boosts fertility, soil fertility, which at the end results into improved production over a given land coverage. The other idea is good farming practice as a tool for sustainable vegetable growing. Of course, in our strategies, we consider a number of factors, and we have a technical team. Kindred van Uganda has a technical team who we trained, and they are fully experienced. And they train a network of farmers, different network groups who are involved in agricultural skills, in better farming practices like mulching, to maintain soils to maintain moisture in the soil, but also to improve soil fertility as mulching materials decompose to form manure at the end of the day. And according to our experience, that has increased, it has boosted production of vegetables over a given land coverage, and it becomes a little bit sustainable because farmers are in position to prolong. And then the other idea is we mobilize local community into local water harvesting techniques. We had a problem where we were mobilizing community to start up with vegetable gardens, but it was such a problem because they couldn't continue during prolonged dry season. So that gave us an idea of mobilizing them to harvest water on the roof, mainly during rain season, and then it can take them during prolonged dry season, and then they can irrigate their vegetables for proper growing. And it has worked out for us because we trained farmers in additional methods of harvesting water and modern harvesting techniques for farmers who have the credibility to do it. And farmers can now try their level best to go through prolonged dry seasons and when they are producing vegetables compared to the past. And then the other idea which has enabled us to succeed in vegetable gardens in Chibinge is giving workshops and trainings to different network empowerment groups. Of course, at the start, it's not easy. It starts by giving workshops by our technical team about better setups. How are you setting up your kitchen gardens? What is required? Spacing of seedlings. There is a lot that is involved in training. So we always give regular meetings because our partner organization from the Netherlands facilitated the construction of the community house. And every time we have workshops there, and every time we have problems in society, we meet there, and several workshops are held about different ideas on how to better things. And Kindred van Uganda facilitates a team of our technical team, and these are charged with the responsibility of sharing their technical skills to the general community. So that's yet another idea which has enabled us to succeed. The other idea is farmer motivation with established training centers. Really, farmers need to be motivated. According to my experience in my country, young ones see agriculture as, before KVU intervened and Bukoma Simbi Organic Tree Farmers Association, more young ones saw agriculture as a burden. They said, it's for you, our parents, do it for us, we won't do it. That motivated us to involve more young ones, to motivate them. And the best way we can motivate community is through establishment of model centers. And as Kinderrenvan Uganda, we have tried to do that. We work with a network of 14 sharing schools, and we are adding 2 more. So in total, 16 sharing schools. We also work with other institutions, and we have started school garden demonstrations there in the form of vocationalizing education system in Uganda. So we are setting up school gardens, and these act as demonstration centers. Minus a network of 14 sharing schools, we are also starting up an animal demonstration farm in one of the villages in Chibinge. And every time aspiring farmers and practicing farmers want to seek knowledge, they always come to these centers to get knowledge. Every time they have questions, they always come over and then they ask. If there is something technical, our technical team is there to go and guide them from the field. They come to the demonstration centers, and in case it requires us to go and give technical assistance from a respective farmer homestead or respective plot, our technical team is there to go and then give that kind of technical guidance and advice. So establishment of key model centers is very important, because it has come to our experience that more people learn by seeing with their own eyes. When they see it, they get motivated. It starts by motivation. Every time they are motivated, they say, oh, I must have a similar setup I saw somewhere. So establishment of key model centers is very, very, very important. That has enabled us. It has influenced so many young ones to get on board and involve themselves in agriculture as a source of livelihood. The other factor is agroforestry as a tool to sustainable vegetable gardens. Of course, I relate this to change in weather and climate conditions. You all know seasons are no longer predictable in Chibinge. At times, farmers planted vegetables expecting it could rain, but they don't find rain anymore. So their crops could dry up. So as a long-term remedy, we have short-term remedies. Short-term, that is mulching and better farming practices like terracing, but we have long-term strategies. And we also, in our long-term strategy, we mobilize farmers to embark on agroforestry, and we are promoting the growing of trees in among farmer plots, and we measure in a special type of tree and other shrubs. In the background, you see them, and we promote the growing of ficus tree, Ficus naturalis tree. It's one of the best agroforestry tree. It sheds off its leaves, they decompose to form manure, and it grows well with other crops. Sorry. It grows well with other crops. So we have partly managed to succeed simply because we have embarked on this kind of system of farming too, agroforestry, planting trees, because they provide shade to vegetables. So different canopies. On top, we have ficus trees and other crops. And at the ground, we have real vegetables like cabbages, vegetables like skumawichi, among other vegetables. So it has been really very important, and among other shrub trees. And then the other important factor that has enabled us to succeed is effective networking of different beneficiaries in institutions. That is the kind of structure we use, empowerment structure. Of course, we work with different network empowerment groups. It's not one single group. It's different network empowerment groups. We work with, sorry, I have some bit of allergy. Before I came here, I had some bit of allergy and dust, so it's affecting me, but it's fine. The kind of structure we use to empower community is very, very important aspect that has enabled us also to succeed in kitchen garden setup. Of course, we work with community schools. We select a few of them per locations where we feel it will be more effective. And we also work with religious institutions. We have another important program. It's called Child to Farmer Vocational Training Program, where in the course of the holiday, this was common before the outbreak of COVID-19, we had a program. It's still running in the village, and it's called Child to Farmer, where we select children in the course of the holiday, and they are trained by model community farmers. They go there in the form of help. They work with the farmers as they get knowledge, but mainly practical skills. And then the theory skills they get from our technical team. That has also enabled us because we work with them, so it has been like effective. The other program is, I've already talked about school gardens. We have started school gardens with the network of schools we work with. Every school is starting up a school garden. Some are yet to get on board soon. We are still looking for funds to kickstart them off. But most of them have started with school garden demonstrations. And every school has a green team. A green team is composed of pupils, it's composed of teachers, it's composed of parents. And every time we set up demonstrations there, we also hold workshops where we invite stakeholders and they acquire skills, better skills in farming. And that has facilitated our activities to reach everybody because we invite representatives for every school, and then they come. When they come, we give workshops, so information dissemination becomes very easier for us. After the workshops, we give them tasks to go and start, and then we send our technical team, including me, to go to the field and see how far they've gone, and then we give guidance to them. Because according to our experience, you cannot achieve as an individual farmer in this community. You have to work as a team, as a community. It becomes difficult to work as an individual and then you succeed. You can't meet the required production capacity, so you won't have market. Who will come to buy a few products from your farm? Of course, you have to be like a network of farmers who can really satisfy the available market. That's why we work as the kind of structure. Then Youth programs. We also have youth programs where we support them in agriculture. We kickstart, we have like a simple resolving fund where aspiring young farmers who want to start initiatives in agriculture go and then get a simple loan. This time, no, without interest, we give them, like, when we give you 1 million, you bring back 1 million. When we give you 2 million, you bring back 2 millions. So this has enabled aspiring farmers to start up their initiatives in vegetable gardens. Before that, before we put up that initiative, it was very difficult for practicing farmers themselves, because sometimes they want money to apply in the process of farming or improving their kitchen gardens, and they don't have the money. So this time they have simple access to simple money we give, but it's working out because we kickstart them off. And when they are in position to sustain themselves, then we ask them to continue with their, like, with their business in agribusiness. sorry. Yeah, that's yet another important factor. So we also have, still, for our structure, we have community building and empowerment programs. So this brings together the general community, schools, religious institutions, partner organizations. Every time we have workshops, we are working almost with different institutions within community. Religious institutions, religious institutions. Sometimes our technical team during prayers, they are given a moment to share out our ideas. And we have also shared ideas of kitchen garden setup to religious institutions, Protestants, Catholics, Pentecostal, Muslims. Our technical team goes there in the course of prayers. They are given a moment, mainly at the end of the prayers, and then they share out. And we have went ahead to ask them to also to start up demonstration centers at respective religious institutions. So everywhere, demonstration centers. Every time followers want to acquire skills, they go to their religious institutions. Every time schools, maybe a respective parent wants to seek knowledge, they go to their schools. Every time platform members or community aspiring farmers want to get knowledge, they go to the other animal demonstration farms. So there are demonstration farms we are setting everywhere, and we are bringing the general community together. And then the other question, I could go to the other question, how my organization involves community in development of kitchen gardens. It's very important how Kinrenvan Uganda, in cooperation with Komasindi Organic Tree Farmers Association, involves local community in development of kitchen gardens. Yes, I've talked about this. How do we implement this? I already said we have a network of 14 community-based sharing schools. And of recent, we are adding 2 more because we have the center. This is the vocational center. And then we have the animal demonstration farm. So in total, 16 community-based institutions. So we always work with schools, we work with the vocational center, we also work with the animal demonstration center. So it becomes easier for us to reach out to communities through working with different community schools. We also mobilize through community religious institutions. I've talked about this in a summary, but I give a detail now. We also work with religious institutions. And I've already said our technical team is there every time there are prayers. We ask the leaders of different religious institutions to give us a chance as an organization to share these development ideas. And we go ahead to sit with respective religious institutions boards in fine meetings, and then we share all these ideas, skills, knowledge, and then we try to influence them. And after influencing them, we go on and ask them to start up demonstration centers to their respective institutions, which they've done so, and they're in the process. Others are not yet on board, but some are already on board. So we do that through religious institutions. The other medium.
Stephen, sorry, unfortunately I have to interrupt you because of time actually. Thank you very much of your nice presentation already. There is still some time left, but we will do that in the breakout rooms as planned. So, but first of all, I would like to ask the audience whether there is maybe one or two questions before we go to the breakout rooms to continue our discussion on vegetable gardens, local ownership. So let me see. Is there anybody who has a question for Stephen?
Yes, please.
Otherwise,
hello.
I would suggest that we will now, I will divide. Oh, I see a question in the chat. From Yannicke. Would you like to introduce the question by yourself, Yannicke? You can unmute yourself. Or shall I read it for you? From your experience, what works better? A community garden where different people from the community work, but managed by the organization, or teaching people to start gardens at home, which can be overseen on distance by your organization? Stephen, that's a question for you. It's also in the chat. Would you like to respond?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. The question is, what works better according to you? A community garden where different people from the community work, but managed by the organization, or teaching people to start gardens at home, which can be overseen on distance by your organization?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the community setup where like you set up a key demonstration is more important, because a few farmers will go to respective farmer plots to acquire information or knowledge there, but they will find it much easier to go to a community institution or setup to acquire knowledge there. Sometimes farmers may be individual. When you go like to a community school, a school garden, you will be welcomed, and then it will go on. So it will be more effective with an institution or a community setup than an individual farmer setup for a demonstration. So I would prefer like a community setup, like let's say something like a school or a collective association established, rather than working with an individual farmer. An individual farmer, you work with them, but for a typical demonstration, it's better you do it with an institution, because it also has security of progress. What if an individual farmer wakes up one day and says, I'm clearing, I'm getting fed up of kitchen gardens, so I'm destroying each and everything. Yet you have invested in your money. What will happen? Of course, there is always an agreement, but at the end of the day, you will have problems. So I prefer working with like a community setup rather than an individual farmer. So an individual farmer could get,
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen. I hope the question will be is answered very well. Now we would like to switch into the breakout rooms for about 15-20 minutes to deepen ourselves even more in the topics addressed in the presentation. I have prepared the breakout rooms, and yeah, we have prepared some guiding questions as well. But please feel also free, you can use these guiding questions, but also please feel free to exchange your experiences. Stephen and Jeroen will also join the breakout room. So yeah, just make the best out of it. And then we will see each other back in yeah, 15-20 minutes. I will send you a message. So I will now open the breakout rooms, and I wish you a good conversation. So here we go. Join. I think the others will also join within a couple of, yeah, there they are. Oh no, not yet.
Shall I share my screen again, Imke?
Yeah.
Or is it better to see each other? Maybe for
Yeah,
the
I
wrap
think,
up.
yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
I think we are all back. Welcome back. I hope you had a good conversation. Maybe, yeah, of course, we are also curious. I was in the Uganda breakout room, but I'm also curious on your reflections. So maybe, I don't know, Simon, would you like to share in summary what you have been talking about in the breakout room with Jeroen? Oh,
Vanaf Imke, als ik mag onderbreken.
Yeah.
If I can just ask you to fill in the form, the feedback form. I just shared it on the chat. Would you like to fill it in, please, before the end of the session? Thank you. Please go on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really, we were talking about in the course of breakout, and thank you for all your ideas. But per my experience, it's always good to really at a certain point we need to combine, basing on experience. But in Chibinge, someone talked about the water project in his country. We also do the same, because when we are setting up school gardens, we are also thinking about the water system. So we have an experience where we repaired boreholes, some boreholes, Kindred Van Uganda, of course with you, our partners and local contribution. We raised money. Government constructed certain boreholes, and completely it failed because there were no boards. And when Kindred Van Uganda intervened, we repaired, and we had to put up a new water board. And that board permanently manages the boreholes. And ever since we repaired those boreholes, they are functioning, and school-going children really get water from those boreholes. I think it also depends on the kind of leadership, organizational leadership and vigor, and the kind of influence you put into community. Let us really make community understand that it's them to change their own society for the good of the future generation. Every time people understand it's them to do it themselves, they will always think about, what am I doing to my community? Is it really positive or negative? So they will respond. But sometimes you need to keep an eye. However much you let them go, but you are there. Like sometimes they appoint me to be part of the board for water management and different aspects. And then I'm always there, this time not as a coordinator of the organization, but as an advisor. So I'm always there to make sure that things don't fail, provided we are still alive. And we do this as a society. We always give ideas. How can we better things? How can we work together as society to better things? So I still insist that it's better to work with like a group of setup, and then from there, you can also support individuals, because we also do it. We have a vocational training program, Child to Farmer, where we train the kids, they acquire the basic skills, and we give them like a kick, a go-ahead startup. We have a resolving fund. I talked about this. When a young one wants to start up like an individual kitchen garden or any other investment in agriculture, we give a simple fund and then we monitor it. So a combination, I think, works better. And in addition to that, I think we need to think about a network of projects. Sometimes a single project may not necessarily solve a problem. When we talk about kitchen gardens, they cannot succeed when we don't have like water system. When you try to support like an individual farmer, it may not necessarily succeed when you don't have like a demonstration or a group of association of farmers or a group of farmers working together. We also have a platform of
Steven,
the
sorry.
past training.
Because of time, because you have so many experiences, I think we could listen to you until the upcoming hour.
Yeah.
Maybe it's nice to have somebody from the Nepal group as well. So maybe Simon, or do you want to add a challenge or an opportunity as kind of a wrap?
Simon has a good opportunity, and the challenges we have also 3 challenges for you, but please go on with the opportunity, Simon.
Sorry, I didn't understand you.
Yes, your model, please, can you describe your model? Because this is a very good chance for success.
Our model is to support a group. We don't support individuals, we only support groups. To start elevating sheep or chickens, or to start a kitchen garden. And we help them to start with that. And the project is always with workshops for managing the whole system, and also managing financially. The experience with sometimes there is a veterinary necessary. So and we make a contract before we start with the group that they will pay back for 40 or 50% of the investment, and with that money we can support the next group. So money in Burkina Faso, our country, makes money for the next group. Yeah. So and after 5 years, it is completely their own project. So because they pay back 50% of the investment, and after that they are very proud because it is their own project. And in some cases there are they ask new members for the group. So we have also a group of young people. They start with 18, 7 or 8 years ago, and now there are 35. So each year there is one new member, and that can cooperate with the group.
Thank you very much, Simon. This was also a very good introduction to the other challenge we had mentioned about sustainability.
Sylvie,
so you are contributing those.
Wondering, are there also negative effects of kitchen gardens, etc.?
Exactly.
I didn't hear it, but I'm wondering. Only positive. It is a little bit difficult to see that.
Thank you very much.
Maybe Jeroen or what is Stephen they can tell us. Are there also negative effects on the short term or on the long term?
Could be a question. I don't know. Imke, what about the time?
We are over time actually. But it's a nice one to take also along within maybe the next webinar, which will be on June 29. There will be a second webinar where we will have 2 organizations, one Alerte Verde van Arnold Brouwer, and who is working in Bolivia, and Association du Gon Initiative, who are working on with agricultural women associations in Mali. But maybe, as a wrap up, I would like to ask you like a final question, because we can talk for hours, I think, or continue for another hour. But as a wrap-up question, I really would like to ask you on which advice would you provide to Wilde Ganzen with regard to supporting or co-funding vegetable gardens? What should we definitely take into account, or what should we definitely not do, or anything in between? Yeah, we would like to receive your advice so that we can include that in our daily work and also partnerships all over the world. So
do you want to write it on the chat, or do you want it?
Yeah, you can you can use the chat. I think that's the most easy way. So,
can you use the chat or send an email?
Please use the chat. Yeah, please use the chat. Yeah. In
the chat. So I think it is very important to support vegetable gardens, because in most underdeveloped countries, food is very, very important. So if you can help the people there to make their own food and be independent of others, it is very important.
Thank you.
I agree with Simon, because it's very important to show people that they can give their own food on their own in their own garden. So it's very important for Wilde Ganzen, for wild geese, to support organizations who are starting with vegetable gardens.
Because it makes them less dependent, Ruud, or?
Sorry?
Maybe also because it makes the people less dependent on other sorts of food that is produced somewhere else, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And they can earn money with selling the crops on the market.
Hello.
If you have more advice, but it's really limited amount of words you can use in the chat, you are always welcome to send us an email, because yeah, every input is welcome for us. Okay, Imke, are we going to end it? And I see there is still one
we have
hand
to,
raised.
I think,
Where to end it?
I shared also the evaluation form. You can, of course, add your advice there and send it to us. It's a link. You can copy the link and work it on later. That's no problem. Just take it from the chat, copy it on. Or you can open it, and it will be it will remain open after our session.
So I think then it's time to first of all thank our very nice and very experienced speakers of today, Jeroen and Stephen. Thank you so much for your time and the preparations. And it was really nice and fruitful to have you here online. So to reflect and to learn from you. So thank you very much. And yeah, also thank you very much for all the Dutch partners and also partners all over the world who have joined us this afternoon. Thank you for your presence. And also in particular, I would like to thank Frédéric, who has taken the lead in organizing this webinar. Thank you very much. And yeah, we will send you a reflection email afterwards or by the end of this week with, I think, with the presentations. And the recording of the webinar can also be found on the website of Wilde Ganzen. I think it will not be this afternoon, but soon. So please keep our website. Yeah, you can have a look at our website. And then I really, as a final note, I really would like to invite you for the webinar on June 29th. So hopefully you will join it as well, so that we can continue our discussion and conversation on vegetable gardens, sustainability, and local ownership. So
if I
thank you
may
very
add
much.
to that,
Yeah.
Imke.
Yes,
Sorry.
of course. Yeah.
Jeroen and Steven, you were both okay with if we would share your email address, right? With the people who were present, so that if they have any questions left, they can contact you. You were both okay with that, right? Okay.
Okay, so then, well, you see, if there are any questions or remarks left, please do not hesitate to contact us. You can find the email addresses yeah, on the screen. And then I think this was it, Frederic, right? I didn't forget anything. So thank you very much for your presence. And I wish you a very good afternoon and hope to see you soon online again.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bedankt.
Bye.
Remke? Hello?
Yeah.
Last message?
Tot ziens.
Hello?
Bye-bye.